It's Parallel Frequencies with Just Blane and Coco and all our freaks out there. What's up, freaks? What's up, Coco?
Hey, what's going on?
What are you
What's new with
sipping on
you?
right there? What are you sipping on? What was that?
I'd like to say it's cocoa, but it's coffee. It's a
Coffee,
mocha
all right.
coffee. So
Mocha
kind of like
coffee.
a,
We could call it Coco, I guess, with an A,
cocoa
because you're
mocha.
Coco with an O. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? You look excited over there. What did you just watch? Did you watch something that got you all excited because we were talking about something else, or what?
Yeah, we were talking about Alone. So I was talking yesterday. We were kind of going over like what are some things we're watching. I've been kind of like dabbling in the survivalist shows like Alone, but I just watched the episode where Peter taps out yesterday. And oh man. So we didn't talk about this, and I'm an emotional energy healer. We have to talk about this. One of the reasons that they tap out, one of the like probably top reasons that they tap out on that show has nothing to do with their survival skills. And this episode blew my mind because Peter had 5 fish. He caught 5 fish, pike, those big fish. So he
Yeah.
had plenty. If you watch that show, if they catch fish like that, you're like, oh, they're good. They're getting protein in their diet and they're not starving. They can make the long distance. They can stay out there forever. He was doing great. He built himself a smoker. He was doing awesome. And then he started talking about his emotions. And he was like, I don't feel my emotions. And he was talking about his childhood trauma. He was talking about his son and how his son he said, my son is an emotionally honest person. I love that. Love that reframing. Not big feelings or a crybaby or something
Yeah.
else, but like honestly, just emotions. And he started to feel guilty about not letting his son really express his emotions because he himself couldn't handle it, couldn't handle big emotions. And then he started saying, my wife has never seen me cry a day, like in all the years we've been married. And then he said, I've cried every day since I've been out here.
Wow.
And he tapped out. No judgment. I fully support it and fully encourage him. But he was like, I gotta go. I gotta go home. I gotta deal with I gotta go talk to my son. I gotta make things right. And he said, I'm a different person since I've been out here. I've proven myself. I know what I'm doing. My skills are top notch. I could stay out here forever. I don't need to stay out here to prove that, but I need to go home and make things right with my family.
That's wild. I think a lot of people are like that. I think nature will break them mentally before it'll break them physically.
Yeah. Maybe in a good way.
Yeah, maybe in a good way.
Maybe
it lets
break
you
open the shell and like open you up and say like, who are you?
Exactly. And you get to find out who you really are. And it's something that you can't run from when you're out there in the middle of nowhere with nothing around you. So I think it
Blew
is
my mind.
highlighting. Yeah, that's incredible. That's Alone, you said?
Yeah, this is the Arctic Circle, season 11. So that was episode 4, titled Legacy. So for those of you who are following along and want to watch that with me, that was deep. That was deep. And I just said, this is it, you guys. This is why I do the work I do right here. Because you can go out there in the wilderness and you can be great at everything. But if you aren't good here, you're going home.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're into the survival type shows, today's Wednesday. It's Wistful Wednesday. And guess what starts tonight? Survivor 50.
Here we go.
I can't wait. That's the one I'm hyped up about. You should check it out. You should make this your first year of Survivor. They're bringing back all the greatest players of all time. There's some people who could really play this game. And in the last couple seasons, it kind of fell off and people weren't really playing Survivor anymore. They were more like voting blocks. And it was like, just to get to the next round. But these players they're bringing in were some of the most cutthroat, real players who were playing the game from the beginning. They played the game before they even got cast. And I can't wait. It's going to be intense. It's going to be incredible. Survivor 50 seasons. That's insane.
That is.
That's really insane. We got some sad news out right now. James Vanderbeek has passed away. I just saw.
My goodness.
Since Creek, Varsity Blues, James Vanderbeek has sadly lost his battle with cancer. at the age of, I believe, 47. That's a deep one for us 90s
Yes.
nostalgia. That's a huge one. That's a huge loss. I saw it everywhere popping up just a little bit ago, and we're going to feel that. That's one of those ones we're going to feel.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't recognize, I will just, since we're doing a moratorium of people passing, we didn't mention Catherine O'Hara last week because we were on break. So we didn't get to mention, she and I share a birthday. So she was like my birthday twin. And so just shout out to, we're going to do some tributes. We could do both of them. We could do Dawson's Creek as a Wistful Wednesday. We could do Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah, there you go. We got 2 creeks. We're going to do the creeks.
We got to do creeks.
Maybe we do those in the same episode and we focus it on James Van Der Beek and Catherine O'Hara in those TV shows. I think that'd be fun.
She's just a legend. And and both of them, that's very sad. I'm very, very sorry for their families who are going to miss them.
Yeah, absolutely. Today is Wistful Wednesday, and we're not talking about James Van Der Beek movies or shows or Catherine O'Hara, but we're going to talk about one that not a lot of people really talk about. Like, it's not one that's the most popular. It's not like we picked it because it was a huge classic legendary movie. No. We're talking about A Lifeless Ordinary. And we're not just talking about philosophy. We're talking about the 1997 fever dream directed by Danny Boyle. Ewan McGregor, Cameron Diaz, angels with a quota system, and a kidnapping romance that somehow turns into cosmic therapy. First of all, Coco, only the late 90s could greenlight a romantic comedy where heaven runs like middle management.
Yeah.
Because Dan Hedaya, who I love, by the way, plays Gabriel. He also was in Cheers. Remember that in Cheers?
Carla's ex-husband, right?
Nick Tortelli. I loved it. I love seeing him be Gabriel. And really, it does look like a middle management type situation. It's not what you think heaven would be if you believe that type of thing. And in this movie, and in all cases, we will believe in heaven because it doesn't make the movie without it, really. So, you got all this going on, and 2 angels who are played by Holly Hunter and Delroy Lindo.
Mm-hmm.
They are incredible in this movie. But
what a pair, right?
Yeah. They got to basically go to Earth, and they need one more successful love story to keep their wings. So that premise alone tells you what kind of movie this is. It's, let's mix crime, romance, absurdity, and theology, because why not? But I like this movie. I didn't remember seeing this movie. I've seen it. And I think I did it when I was on my Danny Boyle kick after seeing Trainspotting, which is basically the same people, same writers. You got John Hodge as the writer of all of this stuff for Danny Boyle. And they've built their own little, let's call it, ecosystem of the Danny Boyle-averse. Maybe not all tied together, but if you watch a movie of Danny Boyle, you're like, oh yeah, I recognize some of this stuff, some of the art, some of the way that it's filmed, all of that's there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
the music,
I
mean, you could tell it's just like a bit of a vibe. I was so into this movie that I had the soundtrack. I have every song on it. I loved. Yeah.
That soundtrack is a banger.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is a banger. I didn't even think about that till you mentioned it. Those are some good songs. And those are all iconic songs that, once again, it touches that nostalgia bone in us to where we're like, oh, yeah, I'm back in the 90s. I'm back in 97, 98. Oh, yeah. That was my high school years right there. So it really took me back and made me feel like that, So I think that the movie is crazy good, but it's crazy and wild on purpose. For anybody out there that forgot, Robert, played by Ewan McGregor, incredible performance, gets fired. In a moment of desperation, he kidnaps his former boss's daughter, Celine, which is Cameron Diaz. Once again, incredible performance. This already sounds like a true crime podcast or something, but then it morphs. Because Cameron Diaz, she's not just a helpless victim. Ewan McGregor, he's not a confident villain. They're both lost, stubborn, chaotic human beings. And the angels, they're nudging, manipulating, orchestrating this whole thing. It's all absurd.
It's
This whole thing on
absurd.
paper.
It's a little bit dark. It's a little bit, I mean, just to your point, Cameron Diaz playing Celine here is my favorite because um, Celine or Cameron Diaz, I feel like she's not winning a lot of acting awards in my opinion. She's great at what she does, but it's kind of the certain roles that she takes on. And this California spoiled rich girl that you see her playing in this movie is perfect for her. Absolutely
Mhm.
perfect for her cadence, her way of speaking, her body type, everything that she's got coming to this role. But she has this dark side that I love about her, where she's
Yeah.
like, you think you've kidnapped me? I'll teach you. I'm the one who's gonna cut open my own wrists and let the blood come out and send that off in the ransom letter, you know, just like a total flip it on its lid kind of a thing. Whereas Robert is so likable because even though he's supposedly the kidnapper, he's the
Yeah.
type of person who would never have done anything like that. Normally, he had to be pushed again by fate and destiny, which I think are the themes of this movie. You know, the
Yes.
angels are pushing and pulling things to have him lose his job. His girlfriend leaves him, and then they come to repossess all of his stuff and evict him from his apartment, which is my favorite part, by the way.
Yeah.
Holly Hunter's line where she goes, "Oh, we can do this with violence or without. It's up to you. The client pays our medical bills, but not yours." Well,
I loved it.
my favorite
I
line in the
loved it.
movie.
And then I
Yeah, so
love
he's
his
pushed and
yeah, I love his
he ends up
reaction when
doing, yeah, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I love his reaction to that line when he's like, the nonviolent or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Nonviolence.
He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
non-violence, please." Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. But I was way into this movie and I'll let listeners know, I pushed Blaine to do this movie with me today because it was one of my nostalgic Wistful Wednesday favorites. It was the one where I overplayed it, had it on VHS, I had it on DVD, I wore it out. I have every line memorized. It's my it's so obscure and weird for a 15-year-old to be obsessed
Yeah.
with this movie, but I was probably because of Ewan McGregor. Let's be honest. The Scottish hunk of our time, he was my favorite, and he's not particularly good looking with his haircut in this movie. I'll just be honest, but he works. But he's so lovable because he's so innocent. He's just so like,
Yeah.
oh,
He's still a heartthrob. On that note of heartthrobs, so is Cameron Diaz. I
yeah.
not that I forgot how beautiful she is, but she's every scene she's beautiful in this. And you're like, oh, what a dreamy looking type of woman, you know? And I think that's incredible. But you're right about Ewan McGregor, Robert. That's what's great about this movie. It doesn't glamorize extraordinary. Robert isn't some suave mastermind. He's insecure, broke, angry. Celine, on the other hand, she's not just a rich girl stereotype. She's trapped. She's bored. She's trying to outrun expectations set by her father. That's the whole thing. A lifeless ordinary doesn't start with confidence. It starts with frustration. How many breakthroughs in your life, Coco, have you started it with, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, it's interesting to see that play out in this movie because I think we can all relate to this moment Robert's having. It looks like, from his perspective, if you think about it, losing your job, your girlfriend, your stuff, your apartment, everything. And you kind of and he's a dreamer. He says it many times in the movie.
Mhm.
He's like trying to write a novel. He's got all these expectations of life, being wonderful. And it feels like all of it is just going to be impossible. Like he just hit rock bottom. And
Yeah.
what he doesn't know, what we as the audience knows, is that there is all these other forces at work creating that to push him into a space where all of his dreams are going to come true. Everything he
Yep.
wants is going to happen for him. He just has to get all this other stuff of his old life out of the way. And the way that I understand energy and magic in the universe, that is sometimes how it works. So in moments when you feel like the most desperate, the most low, you might be able to use this movie as an opportunity to say, well, maybe that's just everything putting itself into place for me to be launched into where I need to be next. Right?
Absolutely. I love that. And that's the Angels doings in the movie. That's Holly Hunter, Delroy Lindo. That's O'Reilly and Jackson, I believe that was their names.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about these angels for a second, because they're basically celestial HR. I mean, we need one more successful love story or we're done. But think about it. How many times in life does it feel like something is nudging you? And you just kind of touched on that, not in a mystical way necessarily, but in that quiet, internal way. My wife, Lindsay, she does it all the time. She's like, something's telling me to do this. And she fought it for a while, but now she listens, and it always works out. You know, that voice that says you're capable of more, this isn't it. The angels in the movie represent that push. They don't take away the struggle or the hard or anything. They actually create it.
They create it. Yeah.
They know that struggle forces growth. And that's where they're trying to get Robert to be. And I love that, because the angels, to me, they look like a metaphor for anybody's life out there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't have to believe in the mystical or the angels to know that the universe does work in certain ways. There's quantum science is catching up to all of the explanations of, antimatter and how the universe resonates and all of the empty space between particles. I mean, I could go on, but the point to this is this movie creating this wonderful, like, external influence of these characters that I love how they're represented almost like these bounty hunter, rough types. I mean, she's like like a cigarette in her mouth, and she's like, "What are we doing here, guys?" Like Jackson and O'Malley, and they're he's getting ready to execute him in the woods at one point, and he's like, I don't know if they're in love yet. I don't know if this is working. And she's like, "Jeopardy, Jackson. It always works." Like they're gonna like push these two people to their limits, right? Think about that. When have you felt that way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I appreciate is how unpolished the connection is between Robert and Celine. And it's a lot because of these angels, but they do help bring them together. But Robert and Celine, they fight, they misunderstand each other, they project. For a movie, it's not that meet, cute, perfect chemistry, slow clap formula. It's not that at all. It's two flawed people learning how to choose something bigger than their ego.
Yeah.
That's a life less ordinary. Choosing vulnerability when pride would be easier. And that's what both of these characters do in this movie. The wild part, though, is that they use kidnapping as a catalyst, because the kidnapping itself is not the story. It's the disruption. It's sometimes life shakes you violently out of a routine, not literally kidnapping you, but, hopefully.
Yeah.
But
taking you on an unexpected journey, right?
Exactly. Metaphorically, you lose your job, a relationship ends, a plan collapses. That's the disruption. That's the doorway. This movie exaggerates it for comedy, but the metaphor is real.
Yeah.
Real.
And you know what I love about Celine and Robert, their relationship is, it's just like you said, they're not two people that would ever, in ordinary circumstances, even give each other the time of day. Celine, for certain, would not have been searching out this guy who works as a janitor in her dad's office building to date him, right? She's like, but when he talks about the ransom and he's going to ask for money, I can't remember the amount he says first, but he's like, "Oh, I was going to ask for 50,000 or something like that," and she's like, "I cannot be seen in polite society if you do not ask for at least $1 million, or I will never," So she's taking over this whole kidnapping. She's like, "Forget about it. We're doing this." And I love the moment when he's like, "Oh, well, maybe this is a good time to tell you about my novel." And she's like, "I don't want to hear about your novel."
Yeah.
It's not these perfect human beings. It's not this like typical romance where they're like smitten with each other. It's like destiny and fate brought us together, and you saved me. And then when it gets to the poem, the two people trying to
Yes.
write a poem so that Celine, thinks that he loves her and gets them back together. Uh, Robert's the one who's like, I never wrote you a poem. Never wrote a poem in my
Yeah, I
life.
love that part. I love that part because yeah, that's incredible. Because even the angel, they're talking to each other and they say, "Oh, he's way too honest" or something, and I'm like, that's hilarious.
Nobody's that
I thought it
honest.
was great.
Nobody's that honest.
Yeah,
It's crazy, but
yeah.
it's just, just takes everything that's a romance or a typical romance movie and it just throws it all out. Like, just,
I mean,
I don't know.
really, watching it back now, years later, it came out in 1997, so we're talking almost what? Almost 30 years, 30 years next year. If my math is correct, I don't know. I went to Humboldt High School, so could be off. I'm not sure. Check me on that. But this movie, watching it years later, it feels less like a quirky 90s rom-com and more like a meditation maybe or inflection on self-worth because Robert
Mhm.
has to believe he's worth more than that paycheck he gets, and Celine has to believe she's worth more than her last name. The angels are the ones just creating those circumstances. The choice is still both Robert and Celine's. That's important because nobody hands you extraordinary. You have to choose it. And that's what they're doing here. I love that kind of aspect of the movie where you got two main characters, nothing alike, but they come together and they're coexisting, really. Not only that, but falling in love.
Yeah.
And
And
that's fun.
actually
That's a great.
seeing each other's dark sides, seeing each other's flaws, seeing each other's ego, when all of that gets in the way, and also still choosing each other, still choosing, even falling in love is like resistance against, it's a form of resistance against oppressive systems that they have,
Yes.
that they're put into, right?
Yep. And I love that final, I guess it's the final-ish scene when they're all together in the room and they start shooting each other. And that's incredible. It's almost like you hear the term Mexican standoff and you got all these guns in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because you got the dad, the father, and he's like, did they move? Did I see them move? And he keeps doing that. And you're like, wait, did I see him move? Like you're thinking the same thing. You see him move and the angels are, coming back to life because Gabriel's making the call to the big man, getting stuff done. I love that scene too, because you got all the angels in the hallway who are like waiting, clapping. Everybody's wearing white.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible.
It's going to take some
But that
divine
scene,
intervention to make this happen, and I love that Todd Johnson ends up being the one they send. You guys,
yeah,
Todd Johnson,
there's.
that scene in the middle, that's again one of my the lines in this movie are just incredible.
Let's talk about all the people who are in this movie because you got Cameron Diaz, Ewan McGregor, Holly Hunter, Dan Hedaya, Stanley Tucci was in it,
Right?
Tony Shalhoub, Timothy Oliphant. Tim Oliphant was in it. He was the hiker, the hitchhiker. He was in it for. I'm like, man, those are some big names to just have them in there. And I know this was early on in their careers for some of them, but
Mhm.
yeah, they got a heavy cast for this, and that's Danny Boyle. That's Danny Boyle. Who would turn down a Danny Boyle movie unless you know it's what he does and you don't want to be a part of something so dark? That's about it. But yeah, there was a powerhouse of actors in this movie that put it over the edge. I mean, really, without any of them,
Tony
it's not the same movie.
Shalhoub, am I saying his name right?
Shalhoub,
I don't
yeah.
know how to
Monk,
was
he
the
played Monk,
bartender.
right?
Yes,
Yeah,
he's one of my favorites too.
yeah. And I guess was Stanley Tucci? Was Stanley Tucci the dad,
The
or was he
boyfriend.
somebody else in the movie? The
He's
boyfriend.
the
That's right.
dentist. Yeah, it's really hard to find a good husband in this town, let alone a good dentist.
What a wild scene that was, too. That was crazy. You got a dentist who's off the deep end and talking crazy. I loved it. I thought that was an incredible scene. Every scene in this movie is fun. I'll definitely be watching it again. I'll put this in my repertoire of films that I'll put on, when I'm
Rotations.
looking for something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but this is, well, before I get my final thoughts, what do you got final thoughts on this movie?
Did we mention, I don't know if we mentioned this yet, filmed in Utah, where we're at.
That's right.
So you can see a lot of the scenes as he's running across the street. It's downtown Salt Lake. A lot of us are familiar with that background when they drive
Yep.
out of the parking garage and then they end up at the gas station in the middle of nowhere. The scenery is very familiar to those of us who grew up around here. I was really excited about that when I was a teenager, thinking Ewan McGregor had actually been here. And then I found out that he didn't particularly love Salt Lake because he said he couldn't smoke where he wanted.
Yeah.
That's what I heard in an interview that he did. So I was a little disappointed, but I was just thrilled that he had maybe touched some of the same surfaces that I had touched at some point. That's thrilling to me.
If Mr. McGregor is watching this or happens to see this, please come back and visit, because you can smoke wherever now, and we'll be all right. Okay, we'll figure that out. I don't want you to be put off by that you couldn't smoke, because you can smoke right here in my house. I promise. We can handle that. We can take care of that. Get you the tour of Salt Lake. They also filmed in Layton and Moab, and I noticed a couple of those scenes, and it's beautiful. It really is. Lots of movies film out in Utah. Lots of movies for different reasons, and I always enjoy it. We get a lot of horror movies out here.
Yeah.
And I like that. But when we say a lifeless ordinary, we're not talking about quitting your job tomorrow and moving to Iceland, okay? Don't shoot us hate mail saying, I listen to this and I quit everything. We're not talking about that, unless that's your thing. And then if it is, send us pictures, because I love it over there. But we're talking about choosing alignment. Am I living from fear, or am I living from possibility? This movie's chaotic, but the message is simple. Don't let comfort write your story. Don't let comfort write your story. Say that again with me. But that's what it is.
And romanticize your life.
You know?
Even the most ordinary life can be extraordinary when it's romanticized, when it's like, this is aligned with who I am and what I want to be doing. So let it be.
Yeah, but nobody else is making you. No one else is making you extraordinary. That's a choice that you get to make. And final frequency here from Just Blane. Maybe the angels aren't real. Maybe there's no cosmic quota system, but there is that voice. There's that internal nudge, that whisper that says you're meant for more honesty, more courage, more authenticity. We love that word. Maybe that's your version of a lifeless ordinary, not louder, not flashier, just truer, just more real to you and yourself and other people around you. Coco, if you think, if heaven had a quota system for bravery, how many people out there do you think are playing it safe right now?
I think more people are doing it more than they think they're doing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes real life destructive moments, like losing your job, your girlfriend, and your apartment all in one day. Moments like that make you see what was missing.
Yeah. To everybody out there that's still listening to us right now, I want you to ask yourself this question. What would your life look like if you stopped waiting for permission? Hit us up. Let's talk about it in the comments, DM, wherever. Remember, we're not just reviewing movies here. We're decoding them. We're breaking them down and maybe rewriting a little of our own script in the process here. It's Parallel Frequencies with Just Blane and Coco. We'll see you on the other side.